Hi guys and welcome, my name is Mr. S and I'm a primary school teacher here to help with some of the tricky things in school. Now if your homework looks like a confusing mixture between fractions, decimals and percentages and you've got to convert between them all but you don't know how, then you're in the perfect place because that's exactly what we're going to do today. Because effectively, fractions, decimals and percentages can all mean the exact same thing, they're just wearing different outfits. So let's get straight into it. Now the first one I like to think is the easiest one. We're going to look at converting between decimals and percentages. Okay, so the reason I say that this is easy is because decimals are always out of either 10, 100, 1,000, or etc., going up in the power of 10. And percent exactly means per, for each 100 here. Okay, so effectively, percent means out of 100. So starting with decimals going into percentages, we've got here 0.45. Now what I need to do to my decimal is I'm going to need to times it by 100. And the easiest way to do that is to move it across 10 and 100. Okay, based on the decimal point you've got there. So now my full number is actually 45 because I've changed my decimal by timesing it by 100. So that means that 0.45 is the same as 45%. And if I were to have done that in reverse, I would have just divided it by 100. So I've got 45% divided by 100 would give me 0.45. Or we can do another really quick example here of 62% as a decimal. I'm going to divide it by 100 and it gives me 0.62. However, make sure you're careful because here's another example. I've got 0.7 here and you might think it's nice and quick. It is 7%, but that is wrong. So I'm going to need to rub that out and we'll look at it again. Now let's remember, to change from decimals to percentages, to do this conversion, I need to times by 100. So I'm going to take my 0.7, I'm going to times it by 10, times it by 100, and it's moved to this place over here. Now what do I do with this space in the middle? Well, I need to put a placeholder there, so it becomes 70. It becomes 70. So my answer here is 70% is equal to 0.7. Now, a lot of the time I find children in my class find fractions the most tricky part of this converting between fractions, decimals, and percentages. So let's spend a little bit of time looking at that. Now, if it's possible, the goal, let's look at 3/5 first. The goal here is to make it over 100 instead, because that way I know from before if I can make it out of 100, it's the same as my decimals and percentages, nice and easy. So ideally we can make it out of 100. Well, how do I get from 5 to 100? I have to multiply by 20. 5 multiplied by 20 equals 100. So I'm going to do that up here too. 3 multiplied by 20. And you might think that looks difficult, but let's do 3 multiplied by 2. Well, 3 multiplied by 2 gives me 6. I'm actually doing 20 and not just 2, so I need to make it 10 times bigger. It becomes 60 over 100. And there we have it. I've turned my fraction into a fraction that's out of 100. Changing that into a decimal and a percentage now is super easy because it's out of 100. So I know that 60 out of 100 is 60%, and turning that into a decimal is 0.60, or we can leave that off and just say 0.6. Now, if you're here with some of the really tricky questions that you get in year 6, then I know exactly what you're thinking, but what if the denominator doesn't go into 100 nicely? Well, that is why I've got this very tricky question down here. I've got 5/7, because 7 doesn't go into 100 nicely. Now, don't panic. If you already know then a fraction, this line here, actually is the same as a division symbol effectively. So what we've got here is we've got 5 divided by 7. If you're not confident with your division method, then check out some of my other videos. I've put them in the caption below so that you can check those out. We're going to stick that straight into the bus stop. We've got 7 and 5 because 5 is being divided by 7. It doesn't take me too long to realize that I can't do that, so I'm going to jump already and put a decimal point and add a couple of zeros on the end. Now, how many 7s go into 5? 0. So I'm going to keep that whole 5. So now I've got how many 7s go into 50? Well, 7 times 7 is 49, and that gives me 1 left over. How many 7s go into 10? 1 with 3 left over. How many 7s go into 30? Well, 7 times 4 is 28. Goes in 4 times. I'm actually going to stop here. We could keep going and going to find out, but I don't need to go any further. But there we have it. We've done 5 sevenths. We've done 5 divided by 7, which has left me with 0.714. Well, there you go. There is my decimal. And if I want to turn it into a percentage, then all I need to do is times it by 100. So let's do that. Let's do 0.714 times it by 100 leaves me with 71.4%. I know I've got a little bit messy around here, but hopefully you can see exactly where we've gone. We've got 5 sevenths, 0.714, and 71.4%. Now, I've got a bit of a cheat sheet here. You don't need to calculate all of them in your head every time. Here is the must-know cheat sheet that will help you out with so many different parts. I've got the fractions here for you, decimals and percentages, and they match up. So 1/2 is the same as 0.5, which is the same as 50%, and the same for these ones. If you know and memorize these 5 VIPs, then that will make all of your convertings much easier. If you found this video helpful or this cheat sheet helpful, then please like the video and subscribe to my channel because it is helping my channel to grow, and I'll see you in the next video.